I'd like to call the regular meeting of the City of Middletown Industrial and Development Agency on Tuesday, June 15th, 2021 to order. Start with a roll call. Mr. Hawkins.
Here.
Mr. Brito.
Here.
Mr. Cantoli.
Here.
Mr. DeStefano.
Here.
And I am Mr. Madden here. I need a approval of the minutes from our last meeting, May 18th.
I would make that motion to approve the minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Hawkins. Is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Brito. Any discussion? All right, I need a roll. Mr. Hawkins?
Aye.
Mr. Brito?
Aye.
Mr. Cantoli?
Aye.
Mr. DeStefano?
Aye.
And I vote aye. We'll move on to our treasurer's report.
Okay, I handed out the treasurer's report. This is as of the end of May 30th. The first page is the totals. There wasn't too many changes, just the interest payment of $4.81 in May. The next page are the balance of the accounts. And the next page are the pilots, which are the same as last time. They didn't change. They were all, the payments were done for April. And then the last page is the detail. There was $4.72 on the Orange Bank and Trust money market, and the Orange Bank and Trust checking was 9 cents. That was for the end of May. There was no bills paid, nothing yet. It showed on the statement.
Any questions for Mr. Numchuck? I need a motion to approve the treasurer's report.
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Mr. Cantoli. A second?
I second it.
Thank you, Mr. Brito. Any more discussion? A roll. Mr. Hawkins.
Aye.
Mr. Brito.
Aye.
Mr. Cantoli.
Aye.
Mr. DeStefano.
Aye.
And I vote aye. With bills and communications, we have a communication from the Danza Lesser Group regarding a sales tax exemption extension to be discussed under new business. I'd just like to read that letter. This letter is dated June 8th, 2021. To whom it may concern, please accept this letter as a formal request from the Danza Lesser Group regarding a sales tax exemption extension. We currently have 120,000 square feet of vacant space, and we are working with several prospective tenants. This is essential to our operation and a necessary component moving forward. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact me. That is our only communication, and that will come up in new business. Any unfinished business from prior meetings?
No unfinished business, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Any new business?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we have Mr. Tony Danza. He's on my cell phone. He would like to talk about his request. And Mr. Danza, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Yes, they can.
Okay. Gentlemen, I appreciate you taking me this way. I would prefer to be there with you. I'm sorry. Hopefully we can work it this way. I'm not used to this technology. If you want to talk in general or you want to question me, however you want to deal with it, please advise.
Okay. Question?
Do you want to ask questions, or do you?
Do you have him give us an overview of what he's thinking?
Can you give us an overview?
Absolutely. The challenge is we're dealing with the oldest building, the Horton building, and the Camello building right behind it. Both buildings have been challenging over the last decade. We came close a couple times, but I think we're probably closer now than ever before. The fallback position is to do an additional 100 units of student and faculty housing. The buildings are in need of repair. They were old when we made the original investment, and we were aware of that, but they need windows, roofs, bathrooms, plumbing, HVAC, all of those things. If we do the units, we're expecting to invest between $5 to $7 million. As an aside, the other thing that I'm working on is I'm working with Governor Paterson. I hired Governor Paterson as a consultant, and he's got a group that I'm working with to talk about possibly doing memory care assisted living. And if we could meet with the county executive when he gets back from Hawaii on his tour of duty. I never got tours of duty in Hawaii, but somehow he did. If there's a possibility we can get some assisted living beds, it would only enhance that. That's the option that I want the most, because what it does is it gives our first and second year students a hands-on opportunity to work with people in a nursing home or in an assisted living memory care facility. School is excited about it, students are excited about it. If you could please extend this condition, it would certainly help us. We have a long way to go, but I really feel good about this one.
Any questions?
Yeah,
Any questions from the board for Mr. Danza?
I do.
Mr. DeStefano?
Yeah, Tony, you understand that this exemption, or sales tax exemption, would only apply to uses that are permitted in the original IDA granted exemption, correct?
Yes, I do, and we're just asking for that extension.
So you're not adding any market rate housing to this request?
Not
Just
adding anything, not changing anything. Hopefully the school is expanding. They do have a master's program now. They're also working on a physician's assistant program, so they're going to get a benefit from this also. So with the expansion, I understand the terms and conditions that we originally agreed to. I'm not asking for any changes.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else from the board with a question for Mr. Danza?
I just want to understand what he means by assistant living, though.
Did you hear that, Tony?
Yes, assisted living and memory care deal with people that cannot live at home, that need that extra bit of care. And if I could tie that into a skilled nursing bed and work with the hospital, it would take the ones that are even advanced. So you see assisted livings all over the place. The operator that I got from Governor Patterson is a good operator, and he has his arms around a certificate of need. We need a certificate of need from the state. It's one of the permitted uses.
So with assistant living, where's the money come from for those
They
people?
do it with bonds. As I understand it, I never owned one or operated one, but they raise a bond. It's a bond issue.
So are the people that are entering into this assistant living, are they paying, or is it coming
Yeah,
from
they
the
pay.
state?
They pay. Some pay. Some of it is Medicare, Medicaid, and some of them are private pay. I think here, the way I'm talking to the people that I got from Governor Patterson, it seems like it's going to be more of a private pay type of thing. It's going to be a real nice facility. If I can get it the way I want it, it's going to be great.
What would be the split between student faculty housing and the assisted living?
Well, if I do the assisted living, I'd like to do the whole 120,000 square feet assisted living. And if I don't do the assisted living, I would probably add another 100 units of student faculty housing. But that's the crossroads that I'm at right now. I would prefer to do the assisted living. If I can't get the assisted living, then I would push for the student housing.
The student housing is currently authorized under the original
Yes.
agreement.
Yeah, we got about 150 units of student housing now.
Yeah.
And,
You're authorized
and
for,
faculty housing.
how much was it?
Yeah, and we also give, about,
250 dormitory.
we only have about 150 now, so I would build another 100 dorms. And we also work with students that are in need, and I give maybe 10 units away, no charge to help students that are, a little financially tough.
As a member of the board who was not here when your original agreement was made, did that original agreement include student and faculty housing or just student housing?
Student and faculty.
Yes.
So the 250 units that was originally allowed could be split anyway between student and faculty?
Yes, as I understand it, yes.
And who ultimately makes a decision about approving assisted living facilities?
Well, the certificate of need ultimately comes from Albany, comes from the state. That's the first step. If I have a good operator, and I do have a good operator, it's Michael Bronstein, I'd like to bring him, I brought him several times to the building, and he's a good operator. He has the certificate of needs. If the state approves it, then we're going, and we get into design end.
And you would use the 120,000 feet of unoccupied space that you currently have?
That, right now, that's what I would prefer.
And
But
how many
the
beds
one
would that
thing- the one
provide
thing-
you?
No, the one thing that we know is things always have an ability to change. Maybe there's a hybrid. Maybe instead of doing the whole 120,000 assisted living, maybe I do 60,000 assisted living and do maybe another 40 or 50 in student and faculty housing.
Ultimately, if you use all 120,000 square feet for assisted living, how many beds would that
That's my
be?
thought is, if the assisted living shrinks and I wind up with less space there, then I'll take the remainder of the space and do the student housing. And student housing is funded, I go to the bank, sign on a loan and fund it.
Again, if you ultimately use 120,000 square feet for the assisted living, how many beds would that provide?
I think about what they're saying is approximately 100. And the rest is common area.
Okay, thank you. Is there any movement for the skilled nursing facility?
Well, the skilled nursing facility, if we could get the beds from Valley View, I have several operators that are very interested in that and working with those beds. But again, those beds are locked. They're tied in to a certificate of need.
Tony, can you just clarify that, because I'm familiar with what you're talking about? You're not talking about closing or taking anything away from Valley View, it's just...
No, I'm talking about used beds that they're not using.
Correct. They have licenses for beds that they're not using,
Right.
you're trying to get, yes.
Valley View has,
Valley View, say, is licensed for 500 beds,
But
and
they
they
only
might
have
have
400.
300 or
Okay.
350. So what he's trying to do is purchase those licenses from the county, because the county has no plans to expand Valley View. But they're still holding on to license, but they're not in use. The beds are paper beds, basically. So that's what we're involved in from the city's end, is trying to lobby the council the county exec's office and the legislature to put those beds up for either auction or negotiated sale, but to get them.
And I'd like to keep them in Middletown.
Yeah, well, that was the intent from the beginning.
They could go anywhere in the county, go anywhere in the state, actually, and I'd like to keep them here
Right.
and do, a class operation.
Well, the nursing home is the preferable way to go, from my perspective.
I agree. From my opinion, I agree. That's the preferable way of going, and having the students and the faculty being able to work with the people in the nursing home. I talked about having the students, when I spoke before the student body, that if this comes to be, I would like them to adopt a grandparent and go oversee their medication, their physical therapy. 70% of people in nursing homes don't get any visitors, ever.
can
And
you
to
just,
have these
can
young kids there, I think it's a great play. I think it's a great opportunity.
can you clarify for us, when you say nursing home, is that assisted living or is that a skilled nursing
Well,
facility?
no, nursing home is the beds from the beds that we're talking about, the beds that Joe just told. Nursing home beds are different than assisted living. Assisted living people are still ambulatory, they're walking around. A nursing home, a skilled nursing home bed is a different animal. It's like Valley View, that's a nursing home.
Higher level care, basically.
Any other questions from the board?
Nope. So Maria, process?
Well, the process, if the board would like, we move forward with preparing the extension. We also have to do the sales tax agreement expired as well, so all that would have to be prepared, and then obviously presented to the board to vote on. So we have to do some homework ourselves on preparing the documents with the Danza Lesser Group, and Alex, our attorney, would have to draw this up. So would be the next process if you like us to move forward.
Tony, do you have a timeline? What's your,
I'd like to know that I have it so I can negotiate in earnest. I mean, I don't know if you vote on this after you see the document or you vote on it now to prepare the document that you're satisfied with what you heard.
I think we can.
But when I meet with
Direct
Michael
them.
Bronstein, I'd like to tell him this is what we have.
Well, I don't think we can vote on a document that we don't have in our possession. But
Yeah, I agree.
I think you can get a feel of the board to direct Alex to draft it, and then when we have the final draft and get legal counsel opinion, then we can vote on it. How long, did Alex give you an idea how long it would take?
No, but we can discuss it first thing in the morning with him.
Because the board meets at will, Tony, so it's not like, well, we do have a set meeting, right?
We have a set
But
meeting.
we can also meet at will if it's.
Right, we could do at-will meeting as well.
All right, so you'll get the timeline?
Yes.
Is there a defined time of the extension? Is it annually, semi-annually? How's that work?
It's according to our project agreement, it's 1-year increments.
So he's looking for a delay in 1 year total, and then it would come due?
Yes, so it expired May 31st. And the project, the sales tax agreement would be for 5 years. That
But
goes-
explain, the sales tax agreement is only applies to materials bought for that project. It's not
Correct.
a blanket, he's exempt on sales tax.
Correct. When he builds out, let's say, his assisted living or skilled nursing facility, or if he does the dormitories, he has a sales tax exemption on construction materials and equipment. And-
Exemption, that's not a postponement or a
No.
No, it's an exemption.
Exemption.
complete
yeah.
exemption, okay.
And everything's filed with the state and
Yep.
so forth.
But that's what has expired, and he's looking to renew.
Correct. So he can move forward with these projects that he just talked about and be able to exercise the sales tax exemption.
But job creations are tied into that, are they not?
The job creations have been tied into the pilot, and those are monitored every year. They give us job creation numbers.
I think we'd all agree that the facility has been a positive for us up to this point. And I know there was an alternative project floating that wasn't attractive, was what a market rate residential project, so
Yeah, that was the thing. we
I
had
certainly
last
would be
week, or
supportive
last
of extending within the existing guidelines. I'm not willing to go outside the guidelines of the agreement, and he's not asking for that, so.
And so, in the pilot, with the proposed assisted living, they're proposing to create 100 jobs or 100 jobs with the skilled nursing facility, which, Tony, you believe those are true, that would come to fruition if one of those,
I think it's a realistic number. There's a lot of jobs that you don't see, like adjunct professors. There's probably 100 adjunct professors that don't show in our job calculation, that teach there and teach at the medical school. In addition to that, when the student gets done with his second year, they go into clinical rotations. The clinical rotations are really unpaid jobs. And then after that, they do 4 years or 6 years of residency, and then they finally get paid. And they're doing residency all over the state, all over the county. But I feel, and you could look at the numbers that Valley View has, that's a realistic number. That's a realistic job creation number. And we've created a lot of jobs that you don't see. There's the ancillary stuff that you really don't see, but it's there.
and Toro has reported 126 FTEs so far.
Yeah, those are full-time employees. Like I said, the adjunct professors, they don't show. And when the student's working for nothing for the hospital, they don't show that either. But it creates, it's an anchor. It's a good anchor. And I'm glad we did it there.
So, Mr. Chairman, do we need a motion to direct Corporation Counsel to draft the papers?
I think we.
It's fine. Do we have a motion to direct Alex?
So moved?
A second?
Second?
Any discussion? All right, a roll. Mr. Hawkins,
Aye.
Mr. Brito,
Yes.
Mr. Cantoli,
Aye.
Mr. DeStefano,
Aye.
and I vote aye.
Okay, you heard that, Tony? We're going to move forward. Okay, and then I'll be in touch.
I'd just like to say to this board, thank you. I appreciate the help. With the cost of lumber and everything going up, it's a tremendous help for us and for the prospective tenant, and I appreciate it, and I always respect and appreciate your help. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Tony.
Mr. Danza.
I'll be in touch tomorrow.
All right, and with that, is there any other new business?
No other new business,
Well,
Mr.
let's
Chairman.
let's end the way we began. Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
I'd like the motion to adjourn.
Anybody who's currently present at the meeting can make a motion. How about a second?
Second.
And all in favor? Aye.